Hello, everyone. You're listening to Alternative Revelations with Linda Emanuel, and this is podcast number 91. And I think this is a pretty important podcast. It's going to explain a lot of things that are going to be happening in the next couple months and what you could do to protect yourself. And I had about a 3-hour conference with one of the state coordinators who is under Anna, and she filled me in on a lot of important information, what's coming up. But first, I'm just going to say, if the following resonates with you, so be it. If not, just disregard it and, take what information you want out of this. But this is what I learned. And this is some pretty heavy things to talk about. I've talked about the birth certificate system, and many people have talked about how we have been tricked into becoming U.S. citizens or citizens of the United States. Now, the birth certificate in 1933, FDR made us liable for the debt of the municipal government doing business as the United States. Now, the United States Corporation is a foreign-owned corporation owned by the Vatican, and the Vatican also has control and owns the Federal Reserve. This is a contractual corporation that was established in 1790 and was under contract with our country to run the country, and their headquarters were established in Washington, D.C. Now, they operate under Roman law and municipal law, or Roman law, the UCC commercial law. Okay, let's see where I can begin. Okay, there is another corporation doing business as the United States of America, and it is a territorial government, and it goes under maritime law, and it is owned by Britain, and it was established in 1789, and I guess it is controlled by the Queen. Now, the territorial government and the municipal government work hand in hand. Now, this is where it gets very, very important. Now, the municipal government doing business as the United States and calls its members citizens of the United States. Now, the territorial government calls its slaves U.S. citizens. That's why when you go a lot of places or fill out applications, it asks you, are you a U.S. citizen? Well, of course we check yes, and that gives them permission to rule over you. Now, that's not the issue here. So we're going to go back to the municipal government run by the Vatican, owned by the Vatican, and also controls the Federal Reserve, which prints our money, collects our money. And the municipal government runs all the ABC agencies such as the IRS, U.S. Treasury, U.S. Secretary of State, etc., etc. They all are under this corporate umbrella. Now, what has happened is the municipal government run by the Papist Church, the Vatican, has already gone bankrupt. And as of June 9th, it is going to go into full liquidation. It will cease to exist. The Washington, D.C. has already shut down many of their offices because they cannot pay their employees. Now, this is another interesting thing. They're talking about this stimulus bill, giving you money, but it has to be digital. Well, isn't that interesting? All the Federal Reserve is going to do is give you money on digital, on record. So this is what's going to happen. And Anna's group is advising all its state nationals to put their money and their assets into state chartered credit unions. And I'm going to tell you why. You are not under the Federal Reserve System. You are not federally chartered. And this means that if you have your money in, let's just give you an example. It doesn't mean, this is just off the top of my head, Bank of America, which is federally chartered. Now, this is what is going to happen. It's not if. It's really a strong possibility. The Vatican, the federal municipal government doing business as the United States, established in 1790, is going to be fully liquidated on June 9th this year. What this means is this. We are responsible. We have pledged ourselves through the birth certificate to be responsible for that debt. And since the Federal Reserve is owned by the Vatican, anything you digitally have in a federally chartered bank account or on the stock exchange, if you have your mortgage with a federally chartered bank, it will go to pay the creditors of their debt. And what this means is it's gone. You will not be able to get it back. Now, of course, if they repossess your house, let's say a foreign corporation comes in and claims it, well, they're going to have a tough time claiming it on foreign soil. So that's a different story, and I'm not really technically savvy on what's going to go on with that. But anything that is held in a federally chartered bank will go, any assets will go poof. They will go to all the creditors of the municipal government doing business as the United States, which is owned and run by the Vatican. And that's the truth. So what I have all my assets. I'm liquidating my, this is my own, what I'm doing myself. I am liquidating my assets in my Edward Jones account, and I'm going full cash because cash will be okay. And if you have money in the state chartered credit unions, you will be safe because things are going to go sky high in the future. And if people don't prepare and protect their cash assets, they're not going to have anything. So what I'm doing, I'm putting everything in my state chartered credit union to protect it. And this is what Anna is telling her state nationals to do. Now, the territorial government owned by Britain has gone bankrupt, but Anna has told us that it will be very difficult for them to claim any assets for their debt. And it actually runs the military and it has the maritime law courts. So it is trying to grab assets, but it's not going to be able to do it through the birth certificate system. So we're pretty well, Anna's group says you're pretty well protected from this corporation going belly up. But so that is just a heads up about this. And I'm liquidating my stock exchange accounts, whatever I've got left of it. I'm putting it in liquid assets or cash in my credit union that is state chartered. So I'm going to explain some things, what happens during this fake hoax pandemic. So many people are getting sick. And it's not the coronavirus. It's what happens is when you get really stressed out and you are traumatized by fear, you can activate a mycoplasma infection, and they will call it a coronavirus, but it is actually mycoplasma. And you remember, doctors don't know anything about mycoplasma. They cannot test for it. They don't do PCR tests for it. In fact, when you test for the coronavirus, you're testing for the protein of the mycoplasma. So, it's just silly what they're doing. They're blaming everything on the coronavirus, which is a falsehood. So many people are getting sick from being traumatized with fear. And the best thing I can do or tell you is to listen to my podcast, How to Protect Yourself from Mycoplasma, What Kills It. And, try to alkalize your body. Baking soda is a really cheap way to alkalize your body. And one of my listeners, I believe it was AT, excuse me if I said your name wrong, he said my book is no longer available on Amazon, that they've taken it off. Well, I sent back a message to him, and I appreciate him telling me this, really. And I said to him, everything in my book, plus more, is free on my website and my podcast. You don't need to run out and get my book. Yeah, it would be nice to have $5 from Amazon, but I'm okay. So I hope this gave you a little heads up to what's going on and what's going to be happening in the next couple months, that you have a heads up how to protect yourself and your assets. I'm going to do protecting mine, and we have a couple weeks until the total shutdown. Creators told me, since Miami was a little bit behind, that the total shutdown is going to be delayed. Now it could change. They could change their mind. They might not even do it. Everything is always about choice. They even have choices what to do. So Creator has told me it's delayed about 3 or 4 days. So don't dwell on that. Live day to day. Protect yourself from the 5G if you're in one of these danger zones. You also, if you have a mycoplasma flare-up, listen to some of my podcasts, how to kill it. So my next podcast is going to be about the 5G, what Anna's group told me is going on with that, and also with the imposter Trump. So be aware, prepare, and be safe. And until next time, good night and God bless.